Hello viewers, welcome to Biblical Dreams Insights. Today, we journey deep into one of the most powerful stories of faith ever recorded. A story that has echoed through millennia, shaping the very foundations of three world religions. It's a tale of trust, of impossible promises, and of a man who dared to walk into the unknown, guided only by a voice he believed in. So sit back, relax, and let your heart travel with me to an ancient land under a sky filled with stars and a promise that would change the world forever. There once lived a quiet, elderly nomad, a man who wandered the desert with his flocks, his tents, and the simple hope that life still had meaning beyond the horizon. His name was Abraham. Before he was Abraham, he was Abram, a man from the bustling city of Ur of the Chaldees. He lived a peaceful, prosperous life in his homeland, surrounded by everything familiar, his family, his culture, the comfort of the known. Ur was a hub of civilization, a place of towering ziggurats and established traditions. Life had a rhythm, a predictable pattern. But one night, under the vast, silent canvas of stars, something extraordinary happened. The divine broke through the ordinary. God spoke. Abraham, he called a voice that was not of this world, yet clearer than any sound he had ever heard. Leave your father's house, leave your country, leave everything you have ever known. Walk into the land that I will show you. Imagine the weight of those words. Leave your home, your security, your entire identity. And for what? For a destination that wasn't even named. No map, no GPS coordinates, no clear destination, just a command to walk, to move, to trust. But with this command came a promise so grand it was almost unbelievable. God promised that Abraham's name would become great, that he would be blessed beyond measure, and the most staggering part, God promised that he would father a nation so numerous it would outnumber the stars he was staring at, a nation that would bless the entire world. For a man with no children and a wife Sarai, who was barren. This was a promise that defied all logic, all human experience. And so, viewers, Abraham did something remarkable, something that would define him for all time. He obeyed. He didn't argue. He didn't ask for a 5-year plan. He simply believed the one who had spoken. He packed his tents, gathered his wife, his nephew Lot, and all his possessions, and stepped into the unknown. He turned his back on Ur and began a journey into a future he could not see. With every sunrise, he walked a little further. With every sunset, he built an altar and whispered a little prayer, clinging to the promise that fueled his every step. But faith, as many of us know, is not easy. It's not a single moment of decision, but a lifelong journey of holding on when everything tells you to let go. Faith stretches you. Faith tests you. The journey was long and fraught with challenges. There were famines in the land, conflicts with neighboring tribes, and internal family struggles. Through it all, Abraham had to learn to rely not on his own strength or wisdom, but on the God who had called him. Years passed, and still no child. Abraham grew older. His wife Sarah, whose name had been changed from Sarai, grew weaker. The promise of a son, the very foundation of the great nation he was meant to father, looked impossible. The reality of their aging bodies screamed louder than the memory of that starry night. Doubt, that subtle whisper, began to creep in. In a moment of human frailty, Sarah convinced Abraham to have a child with her handmaiden Hagar. This resulted in the birth of Ishmael, but this was not the child of the promise. This was the result of human effort, not divine intervention. Yet even after this misstep, Abraham continued believing. He held on to that sliver of hope, that divine promise that had set his life on a new course, and God was faithful. He appeared to Abraham again, reaffirming his covenant. Then, one incredible, miraculous day, God fulfilled his word. The impossible happened. Sarah, at 90 years old, conceived, and an elderly couple long past their prime. Their bodies, weathered by time and the desert sun, held a newborn child in their trembling arms. His name was Isaac, a name which means laughter, because God had turned their decades of tears and doubt into pure, unadulterated joy. Sarah herself laughed and said, "God has brought me laughter, and everyone who hears about this will laugh with me." Isaac was the living, breathing embodiment of God's faithfulness. He was the miracle child, the proof that with God, nothing is impossible. The promise, once a distant dream, was now a reality they could hold, a future they could see in the eyes of their son. But just when the promise looked secure, just when Abraham's life seemed to have reached its peaceful, happy conclusion, the greatest test of his faith arrived. A test so severe it has been debated and analyzed for centuries. One early morning, before the world even woke up, while the dew was still on the ground, God called again, "Abraham." And Abraham, ever ready to listen, replied, "Here I am." Then came the command, a command that must have felt like a dagger to his soul. "Take your son, your only son, Isaac, whom you love, and go to the region of Moriah. Offer him there as a sacrifice on a mountain I will show you." The earth stood still. The words defied comprehension. The command shattered Abraham's heart into a million pieces. Isaac, the child of laughter, the son of the promise, the one through whom the great nation would come. It made no sense. It was cruel. It was the antithesis of everything God had promised. Every fiber of his being must have screamed in protest. Yet the scripture tells us something astonishing. Early the next morning, Abraham got up. He didn't delay. He didn't argue. He obeyed. With trembling hands, he saddled his donkey. He gathered the wood for the offering. With silent, gut-wrenching sorrow, he took Isaac by the hand and began the 3-day journey to the mountain. Imagine that walk, step by step, tear by tear. Obedience fighting against every paternal emotion. On the way, Isaac, in his youthful innocence, asked, "Father, the fire and wood are here, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering?" How Abraham must have choked back his tears as he replied, "God himself will provide the lamb, my son." Finally, they reached the place. Abraham built the altar. He arranged the wood. He bound his beloved son Isaac and laid him on the altar. And just when Abraham lifted the knife, his arm raised in the ultimate act of surrender, just when the test reached its absolute breaking point, an angel of the Lord called out from heaven, "Abraham, Abraham." God stopped him. "Do not lay a hand on the boy," the voice said. "Do not do anything to him. For now I know that you truly fear God, because you have not withheld from me your son, your only son." And there, caught by its horns in a thicket, was a ram. God had provided the sacrifice on that mountain, now known as the place where the Lord will provide. Abraham's faith was sealed, purified in the hottest fire of testing. His obedience, as incomprehensible as it seems, became his legacy. It was a demonstration of absolute trust, a belief that even if the worst happened, the God who could bring life from a barren womb could also bring life from death. This act of faith became a cornerstone of spiritual history, a legacy that shaped nations, fulfilled prophecy, and, in the Christian tradition, paved the path for the coming of Jesus, who would be the ultimate sacrifice provided by God on a hill not far from that very mountain. Abraham's story teaches us one incredibly powerful and timeless truth. Faith isn't about knowing the destination or understanding every twist and turn in the road. It's about trusting the one who leads the way, even when the path leads through the darkest valleys. It's about believing his promises are more real than our circumstances. Thank you for watching. If this story has touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more Biblical Dreams insights. We'll see you in our next video.